Justice Smith, Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We are here to fuel your Rockets news. This is Rocketsville Podcast. Of course, I'm your co-host, Lachard Binkley. You can always find me on Twitter at Binkley Hoops, and you can find my written work over at The Dream Shake. And before we get started, get too deep into it, I want to, of course, give my co-host a chance to introduce himself.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Vator. You can find me on the X app, formerly known as Twitter, at Vator Sports, also on Instagram for your Rockets related news and also some Houston Texans stuff right now.
And of course, we are going to be here to talk about the Rockets' fifth straight win, as you saw in that opening clip. I was out at the game yesterday, and it was definitely one of the best crowds I've seen in the last few seasons. The Rockets were able to pull out that victory 104-101 to make it 5 straight victories. And of course, the biggest thing from last night's game was the fact that the Rockets were trailing for most of the fourth quarter. And in past years, they definitely would have lost that game. They probably would have folded. But with the new veteran leadership and, Fred Dillon, and even Jeff Green, we saw the big difference in the game last night, especially with Fred VanVleet being able to close out the Pelicans with 2 big threes with under a minute 14 left in the game. So it was definitely exciting. So I want to get your thoughts on that, Vader. What's kind of been your thoughts, not just last night's game, but the entire 5-game winning streak? And yes, it's been teams beating teams that have had injuries, but we all know that this Rockets team, the last couple of seasons, they would have absolutely lost majority of these games, if not all 5 of these games, even if the major stars for other teams were out of the game. So what's kind of been your thoughts on this entire 5-game winning streak?
And just to your point, like even those teams that we've beaten that were missing people, you'd see them going to the next game and have a more like competitive game with their next opponent. And sometimes they even won. So I don't think we should discount the wins. We should enjoy these wins right now. I mean, we won 22 games last year, and then I think I don't know what the average win total the past 3 seasons was, but it probably somewhere around 20.
Yes.
We can't be all like. I mean, I understand we're trying to not get our hopes up because we don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be hurt again, right? But enjoy these wins, man. The Houston Rockets are 5-3. They've already, like, in my opinion, I think that they're ahead of schedule, especially when you consider that they are missing Amin Thompson. Tyrese and just came back, and then you're also missing a guy who probably would have been your 6-man. Emi Udoka. I think we need to start there. Like, give this man his credit. Give this man his just due. The things that he's doing right now with this team, with pretty much, I won't say the same roster, but like you see the development in our young players, and then you see like they brought the veterans in. A lot of people on social media did not like the Dylan Brooks signing. A lot of people on social media did not like the Fred VanVleet signing. And there were people who wanted James Harden to come here. I wasn't opposed to the James Harden signing, but I trusted in the process. I trusted what Emi Udoka wanted to do. And he, at some point, determined in that meeting that they had with James Harden that he'd rather go with Fred VanVleet. So that's what we're going with. Is Fred VanVleet a better player overall? Probably not. Does Fred VanVleet, does he affect the game the same way that James Harden potentially can affect the game? Probably not. But there is more to the game of basketball than just statistics. And that's one thing that I get into with a lot of the fans who are younger than me, like the 19, 20, 21, 22, like they're very stat driven. And I understand that stats are very important. They do give you a lot of data. They give you a lot of information, but it does not give you the full picture. It does not give you the full pie. It gives you a piece of the pie, right? A lot of the things that Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet bring to the table are not measured on statistics. You cannot look at statistics to determine the effect of a guy like Fred VanVleet and a guy like Dylan Brooks, who instantly, the moment they were signed, they upped the level of intensity on your team. They upped the defense on your team. Fred VanVleet has some faults. Like, he is not a good finisher at the rim. Sometimes he takes bad shots, but he's a leader.
He's a winner. Yep.
He's a winner. He operates. He's a competitor. Let's. Hey, the two guys Ime Adoka really wanted to bring in and prioritize this offseason are guys who are competitors.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks, they showed so. I don't know what the media was expecting. I think you asked the question too, but when you asked the question about like, hey, you got LeBron coming up, like, what you walk me through that, Lachard. Walk me through that.
So I didn't ask the question. That was actually Danielle Lerner from the Chronicle.
Okay.
So she asked him about that, and yeah, this has probably been the 50th time in the last couple of months. He's been probably more than that, actually. He's been asked about the whole LeBron thing. So she asked him the question, and honestly, I think it was more like sarcastic, kind of tongue in cheek when he gave the answer. Like, yeah, I'm gonna lock him up, but at the same time, what do you expect from Dylan Brooks? That's one thing about Dylan Brooks. He's never going to change. He's never changed. He hasn't changed who he is. He doesn't care how much you talk about him. I mean, he even said like, hey, I don't know if he was talking about us, but he was like, I don't even like talking to the media. So he keeps it real. One thing you can say about Dylan Brooks, he's never going to lie to you. So I didn't have a problem with the answer. To me, that's the type of person you need on the team, is somebody that is going to go out there and is going to guard the best player on their team and is not going to care anything about what somebody says about him. A la Patrick Beverly and even Vernon Maxwell back in the day.
Yeah.
So for me, I had no problem with what he said, but we all know how the media, especially the national media, is going to cover that, anything with LeBron and Dylan. And I don't know if you just read through the comments on the video I posted. I mean, I would probably say 90% of them was like, oh, what is he doing? He's poking the bear again. He's doing this. Hasn't he learned from the last time? And then when the Rockets won by 30, it was almost like crickets under the comments after that.
Sir.
So Dylan Brooks' narrative's always kind of been formed already. And I love what you were saying about you can't measure everything by stats, because that definitely goes for Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks didn't even have a good offensive game last night. He was in foul trouble majority of the game. But you saw in that fourth quarter exactly why the Rockets brought him here. He absolutely shut down Ingram, because Ingram was like torturing the Rockets the first 3.5 quarters. They couldn't stop him. And then even Sengun said that, like, when Dylan came back in, he shut Brandon Ingram down. Even sometimes he was guarding Zion out on the perimeter, because Zion, I mean, that's why Jabari was taken out of the game. Part of the reason, because he just couldn't guard Zion. So they brought in Jeff Green so they can kind of switch between Jeff Green and Dylan Brooks. But Dylan Brooks brings so much outside of stats that, yeah, his stats earlier were great when he was shooting 60% from three, but that's not what you expecting.
It's not sustainable. That's not realistic.
It's not sustainable. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because that leads me right into what I want to play right here. Is when I asked Sengun about the veteran leadership, and he said something that I think most Rockets fans been wanting to hear for like a very long time.
Having veterans like Fred and Dylan, especially in these close games.
Like, I can say, like, me and Jalen, they are, like, Fred and Jeff and Dylan, they are our ass. Like, like, even when we playing bad, like, we are down 9, Jalen has down, we like going scream at him, like, come on, like, blah, 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 Dylan to me, Jeff to me, like, which is great for us, and that's, we like learning, we're gonna be, how I can say, like, in 5 years, 6 years, we're learning this, and we're gonna do it with other players when we grow up, which is great for us.
So, I mean, you see there, I mean, if you didn't hear, he was basically saying that they all be on their asses pretty much the entire time. I mean, when they make a mistake, they were right on top of them. And that's something I know Rockets fans have been harping for a long time about, even though it's kind of a catch-22, because a lot of people want them to go really young, but at the same time, they wanted somebody to kind of step up and tell them when they're doing something wrong. I understand that should have been Coach Silas, but we all know that's just not his personality, and maybe that's why he wasn't the best fit. But now you have Dylan Brooks, and a lot of people keep forgetting about Jeff Green. He's been huge for the Rockets so far off the bench. And a lot of people don't know about Fred, and something we talked about with Vivid when he was on. The guy from Raptors, Locked On Raptors, was that Fred would get in your face. You may not see a lot on TV. He may not have that same reputation as Dylan, but I remember it was a whole thing with him and Scotty Barnes, and it was like, well, that's why they're glad Fred is gone, because he was always getting in Scotty Barnes' face and trying to tell him to do this and do that. But you need that as a young player, because the Rockets didn't have people to teach them how to win on the court. Yeah, you had Eric Gordon, but we all know that's not Eric Gordon's game, or his mentality is to kind of be the rah-rah leader, get in your face. We all know Eric Gordon's like really quiet and he's not really going to say too much. So you needed people like Fred and Dylan. I mean, and that's why when people were getting mad about the contracts, they didn't take in consideration that it's more than just the numbers. It's how they act in training camp, practices, film session. I mean, Fred is the coach on the court. And I mean, Ime has said it himself several times. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a huge thing that people need to realize, that you can't just go look at the advanced stats and then base all your opinions on advanced stats and rebounds and assists and steals. It's more than that.
Because James Harden, honestly, like if I'm just being like objective, he's probably better than Brooks and Fred VanVleet combined, as far as like if you're just looking at like advanced stats and like wins added and VORP and RPM, all these things, like LeBron, like all these stats that people look at. And like I said, I'm not trying to like say stats are not important. I'm just saying that like there's more to it. You have to watch the game. You have to be objective. You have to look at the intangibles. These things are not measurable. And so the things that Alperen Sengun was saying like really hit home, because like our guys want to be coached. I don't know how they would have felt, having guys in their face their rookie season, but they've lost so many games. They've lost a lot of games. And at this point, they're like, please, like, if I'm not doing something right, let me know. And that's why I wasn't really worried about Jalen Green's start to the season. A lot of people were really concerned. And I was concerned a little bit just because I don't want him to be a passive player on the court, because I know what he can do. We've seen what he can do. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I don't want him to go out there and shot chuck and just try to be like, well, and not take the coaching and just do what he wants to do. I want him to be a sponge and learn from Ime Udoka and learn from the veterans that have been there and done that. And that's what he's been doing. And I think the last few games we've seen the byproduct of him trying to become a better basketball player. Like there's been this thing all these years, oh, Jalen Green is not a winning basketball player. Let's look at his plus minus. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And now you're seeing him functioning in one of the top, if not the best, starting lineups in the NBA. Like and now I'm circling back to the stats. The Rockets have a top 6, I believe, net rating in the NBA. And a lot of it has to do with what they're able to do with their starting lineup. Because as we know, the bench is kind of depleted, and we're just kind of like scrapping right now. But like Jalen Green has actually fit in very well. You can see the effort on defense. It's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect the first 10 games into the season, but like I see him getting better. I see him trying to learn. And then like the clip you just showed with Alperen Sengun, like these guys want to win, and they're willing to lay it on the line. They're willing to do whatever it takes to win. I know, going back to the quote, like he said, I'm going to lock LeBron up, right? There's a catchphrase that's been going around, on social media the past couple months, standing on business, right? So like basically, like when you standing on business, is like, and for like us more mature people, it's you say what you mean and you mean what you say. If I say something, that's what I mean. I'm going to stand on my on business. I'm not gonna backtrack. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat what I said before. And so like I appreciate the fact that like Dylan Brooks he had every opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? No comment, or whatever. What did he do? No, I'm gonna lock LeBron up. And then the videos. If you did not see the video, go on Twitter, X app, whatever it's called, and look for the video where he's just staring at LeBron James.
Yes, right there. Yeah, I think Kelly Eco put that out.
Yeah, this dude, man, he's staring at him. We know LeBron is if he's not the best player that's ever played in the NBA, he's top 3, right? And Dylan Brooks does not care, bro. He does not care. He's staring directly at LeBron. And then there's another video of him looking across the court. The Lakers are warming up on the other end, and Dylan Brooks is just
Just
You
staring
know,
at him
like
like he's a horror
psycho.
movie.
Yeah, well, that's what we need though. We need that. We got a lot of friendly dudes. Like Sengun is friendly, super talented, best player on the team right now. Jalen Green is a good dude. You know what I mean? We need that Patrick Beverly. We need that Vernon Maxwell. And Dylan Brooks has brought that to the table. And like so far, I mean, 5-3 record, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I'm hoping I can find the clip because when you were talking about Jalen Green and, his improvement and, how a lot of people had formed the same thing, a narrative about him that he's a shot chucker and he's inefficient and he's not a team player. And actually, I asked Coach about that, pregame, and he was saying like, "Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Jalen this off season, and one of the things I joked to him about that last season, it took him 10 dribbles just to get to his move. Now during the summer, it's taking him 5, and
I
now
missed that, Lachard. I did not see that
so
video.
so
You have that?
yeah, I'm trying to upload it now and see if it comes up because it was a
You
great
got that on
quote.
wax? That's crazy.
It
I
was a
haven't seen
great
that.
quote because it was like hopefully get it down to 1 and 2 because I was
I
pointing
love
out,
Udoka, man. Udoka has given us some crazy quotes, like the one
yes,
about Austin Reeves, the one where he was like, "Hey,
yes,
hey, they had Austin Reeves on Team USA, and you were only on the USA Select team." And then we saw
yes,
Jalen go out there and have probably his best game of the season, 28 points, I think, on 15 shots against the Lakers. And then
yeah.
of course, it was the viral clip where he stripped Austin Reeves and took it, and he
And
did the dunk
the
that actually looks like
dumpster knot.
yeah, it looked like the dumpster knot. It looked like the blaster knot, dumpster knot, whatever you want, like in the middle of the
Yeah,
Rockets, the City Edition basketball court. So
yeah,
I'm a big Udoka fan, man. Like I'm hoping like they keep this up and that he can be in consideration for Coach of the Year because I mean you can even see it like even if we're not even talking about wins and losses, just the process, the way the guys are getting open looks, the way they're sharing the ball, the way that we're locking up on defense. We're a top 10 defense in the NBA right now. Think
yeah,
about that. Top
which is
10 defense
crazy.
in the NBA right now. And I expected our defense to be better, but I did not think that we would hold our opponents under 100 points,
Yeah,
in consecutive games. And I'm
yeah.
excited, man.
So I think this is the quote. So let me see. Let me play it.
Faster and dribbling less, making quicker decisions. He ranks 3rd overall in secondary assists. Can you talk about his improvements overall game from just being a scorer the first couple of years?
Yeah, I preached that to him from day one, and was around him a lot this summer. And I was joking with him that it took 10 dribbles to score now down to 5 in the summer, and then now we want to get it to quick decision 1 or 2 and make a quick move. And so, he's taken on that challenge to understand what he has, the shots he has, and his catch and shoot was great last game, and so we want him to do that more, but also be in attack mode and like I said, not predetermine what he's going to do. And so the more efficient he can be, scoring with less dribbles, obviously, the more explosive, or as explosive as he is, he'll be able to make plays and score like that. So I love the growth in that area, but he can also take advantage of mismatches, back it out like he did at the end of the quarter with the 2 mismatches on Russell. So he's become more well-rounded, no doubt, and we love to see it.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you.
I
So
got
yeah,
a
like
smile
you
on my
see.
face. I have a smile on my face. You used to take 10 dribbles to get the shot that you wanted. Now you're down to 5. Let's get you down to maybe 2 and where you can make a quick decision. And see,
Yeah,
that was the thing. That's why I wasn't really like super concerned about Jalen at the beginning. Like now, if he was playing like he was the first couple games towards the end of the season, I would have been, yeah, okay, maybe he's not that dude that we thought he was. But like he's learning to play basketball, winning basketball, and he's learning to play
yeah,
basketball in a different way. Like before he just got, last season he was able to just kind of like do what he wanted. And I felt like, maybe that might have been okay for his development at the time. He had the ball in his hands. He was responsible for making a lot of decisions. Maybe he wasn't quite ready yet to like do that efficiently. But now, like you saw him thinking the first couple games, and the last few games you've just seen him reacting. So
yeah.
you've seen like the progression. And so like we're not even 10 games in yet. So like if he's doing this already, just imagine potentially what he could be doing after All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think that's what a lot of people weren't realizing is, and Dylan even said it in the locker room because I asked him about the same thing about holding people accountable, especially young guys. He was like, "Yeah, Jalen was the main focus the first couple seasons, or before we got here, and that's a lot of pressure on anybody, especially a guy as young as Jalen. So now he can kind of take a step back in some cases. In some cases, he can take the game over like he did against the Lakers. Like last game, he didn't have to be the main guy. There's been some games where he didn't have a great offense game during his winning streak, but he had 4 assists in the fourth quarter to kind of help close the game out. So now he has other guys that can step up, and he doesn't always have to be the main guy. And I think that's going to benefit him in the long run. And kind of funny, we're just talking about not always depending on stats, but just a really great stat about him is he's actually third in the league in secondary assists. At least he was coming into the game. He's actually up a full assist, and basically secondary assist is what they call quote unquote hockey assist, to where maybe your pass doesn't lead to a score, but the pass that you give to somebody else leads to assist for them in a score. And that's a big deal because that means he's moving the ball. He's not just holding the ball and dribbling like he kind of been doing the first couple of seasons where, honestly, he didn't have a choice a lot of time. A lot of his shots came late in the shot clock because the Rockets' offense was just so bad that he had no choice but to shoot the ball with like 23 seconds going in the shot clock. But now they have more of a structure. They know exactly what they're doing on offense. So now he's moving the ball faster. He's dribbling less. And I think that you'll see that really pay off, as the season goes on, he gets a lot more comfortable with the team.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that those grenades, and we refer to those like he got the ball late in the shot clock, and he was required to make a one-on-one move and take a shot off the dribble. That really tanked his efficiency. And so like a lot of people pointed to like his drop in efficiency last year. And I always would go back to where he's not taking the same shots that he took his rookie season. His rookie season, there was a lot more like off the catch. There was a lot more of him kind of getting the ball off of a screen and going to the basket or whatever. And then last year, most of the stuff that he did, or a higher percentage of what he did, was off of the dribble, him creating his own shot from nothing. And also with the shot clock running down in a lot of cases. And if you take some of those situations out, his efficiency looks a lot better. And so like I kind of felt like when we hired Udoka, just from seeing what he was able to do, convincing Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to be a little less ball dominant, but also still, you're still going to get your shots, but we're going to get you better shots. And yeah, man, like I don't want to. Here we're at a weird place right now where I want to be like, I'm trying to temper my enthusiasm because I know we're gonna hit some rough patches through the year, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to be a prisoner to the moment of like, oh, we're on a 2-game, 3-game losing streak, we suck again, we're going to the lottery or whatever. And I also don't want to be like, okay, we're on this 5-game winning streak, we're going to the second round of the playoffs. We got, but like if you just look at like what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball, like look at last night. Look at the game that we just played last night. We do not win that game. Everything was against us. We didn't even talk about this game really. Like the referees, you would have thought the Golden State Warriors were like on the floor. That's how bad the refereeing, the Jalen Green goaltend that. Like
that's one of the worst calls. I'm not even being exaggerating. That's like one of the worst non-calls I've seen. It was so obvious that it was goaltending. It's not even funny. It was just crazy how bad the refs were last night.
They weren't shooting well. Like nothing. Like in the second half, nothing was going right, and they still found a way to win. It's the chop wood, carry water. That's one of the things I mentioned in the spaces that we had after the game. Chop wood, carry water. Right. So like it's hard work. It seems like it's not rewarding, but you just keep doing the right thing. You just keep plugging away. You just keep like taking care of your business, and you see what happens. And that's what they did. And I feel like we have not seen that from this team in the past. They had so many reasons to quit. They had so many reasons to give up and be like, okay, that 4-game winning streak sure was nice. We'll win the next one. But they gritted it out. And I think this was a character building game. This was hopefully something that we look back, towards the end of the season, and we'd be like, hey, that is when the Houston Rockets became the Houston Rockets and got their identity.
Yeah, because like you said, you don't want to go overboard because let's look at the upcoming schedule. They have Denver. Even without Jamal Murray, Denver is still beating teams. So, of course, they're the champions. I mean, so that's going to be a tough game. Then you got the Clippers, even though that's a whole nother story. The Clippers have lost all 3 games that James Harden's been a part of, and they've lost them. They got blown out by 30-plus points last night. But at the same time, you still have James Harden, you still have Kawhi Leonard, You still have Russell Westbrook, and you still have James Harden. So, I mean, that's still
Paul
going to be a
George.
tough game on the
Paul
road.
George is also
Paul
there.
George. So
Yes.
that's going to be a tough game. And then after that, you have the Golden State Warriors. We all know about Golden State. And then, then you got Memphis, who's been one of the worst teams in the league. And I'm sure Dylan Brooks is going to love that game. But the games before that, that's going to really show where this team is, because now you're playing like heavyweight type teams. Like I said, the Clippers are struggling, but a lot of people still figure that they're going to be one of the top 4 seeds in the West once they finally figure it out. So you got some tough games coming up, and you're going to really see, okay, where are the Rockets right now? And even if they go on a 2-game or 3-game losing streak, people shouldn't like, oh, God, it's the same team, because I don't think this is the same team. I can say that even though we're only 8 games into the season, you can tell by just watching them, at practice. You can tell by watching how they prepare. This is not the same team. So, yeah, they're not gonna win the next 74 in a row. They're gonna lose some games. So I think people should just kind of temper their expectations, but be excited. I mean, Rockets been bad for so long. And like I was saying on Twitter, or X or whatever the heck you want to call it, this was probably the most excitement I've seen in the crowd in the last few seasons. And I've been to even before I started reporting, I've been to some games, and it was like dead in the arena, even when they were winning. So to see the arena how it was last night was crazy.
We had a discussion last night about, is this the best win that we've seen in the last 3 years? And so the only other game that I feel like was comparable was that Atlanta Hawks game when they hit Jabari upside the head.
Yeah, even the Brooklyn game, the first game against Harden, when Christian Wood,
But so this is right up there though. And then this is a game where there was not like Sengun had a good game. Fred VanVleet was clutch, and he ended up having a pretty decent stat line. Jalen Green, although his outside shooting wasn't great, he kept attacking the basket and kept trying to he kept being aggressive. But there was not like a singular guy like carrying us to the win or whatever. But if you look at the game itself, this was a game that you did not expect to win, and it was a game, like I said before, you had every excuse to just kind of like pack it in and call it. So this was a different kind of vibe, and I kind of feel like it's one of those wins that hopefully signifies that you've turned the corner as a franchise. We've seen a lot of bad basketball the past 3 years, a lot of horrible basketball, a lot of selfish basketball. We can make a list probably, and I'm sure everybody that's watching this right now or listening to this right now can make a list of all the things that you saw that you hated. But think of all of the things that we saw in that game last night that we have not really seen before. And so that is what gives me hope, even if they do go on a losing streak, and I'm sure they will at some point. It may be sooner rather than later. Even if they go on a losing streak, I feel like the process is there. The things that they're doing are actually things that lead to winning basketball. It's not just we're winning a game because of some Herculean individual performance, and that is why I'm excited.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, the last 2 seasons, the Rockets started 1-9 and 1-16. I mean, I had to look at that twice to make sure that was right, that they started 1-16 a couple of seasons ago. That's how bad the Rockets have been. And the fact that it took them a month plus in the last 2 seasons to even get to their 3rd win, and they already up to number 5 in 8 games. I mean, that says a lot about where this team is. I don't care who you're playing, because I guarantee in some of those 1-16 games, they play teams that didn't have their main players, and they still lost those games. I mean, you even look at Sacramento. They lost against Sacramento. Yes, they had Fox last year, but they gave up 134 and 139 points in 2 games. I know everybody remember those 2 games because it was probably 2 of the worst defensive games I've seen any team play back-to-back in the last 20 or 30 years. It was pretty bad. And then you go this season, and like I said, no Fox, but other than that, it's pretty much the exact same team, and they completely shut them down. I mean, they not only shut them down, but they took their will away from them to even want to play. You could tell that Sacramento just gave up in the second half of both of those games. And that's something you haven't seen the Rockets
next game, I believe. Yeah. I think they won their next game after they played us.
Yeah. So, I mean, you take away – the Rockets haven't been able to impose their will on anybody in a long time, and they're really starting to do that. And even last night, the Pelicans had to leave for most of the 4th quarter, but the Rockets just continue to wear them down to a point where eventually, the Rockets were able to get that lead late with the two, Fred VanVleet threes. And that second three was just amazing. I mean, he shot that thing from 30 feet and didn't even hesitate. So that
Hey,
takes a lot
Lachard,
of guts to do
on
that.
that though, let's give props to like Vivek, the guy from Locked On Rappers, who we had on
Yeah,
like
he
a few
mentioned
months
that.
ago, because one of the things that he mentioned was that like Fred VanVleet realized that he was not able to get his shot off against lengthy
Exactly.
defenders, and he had to work on his range. So like last night, I'm watching the game, and when he pulled up for that 3-pointer from the logo, I was like, no, 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 yes, 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 yes. And then like in the space after the game, I did bring up, because of the fact that we had this conversation with that guy who's super knowledgeable, because he followed Fred VanVleet from the time that he was in G League, because he
Yep.
was covering the G League team. And he was like, yeah, Fred VanVleet had to learn how to extend his range. He worked on that extensively. And that is one of the reasons why he became so good, after the first couple years that he was in the league, is because he was able to extend his shooting range. And then we saw that on display last night. So it was kind of cool, because I kind of circle back to that, that conversation we had on the podcast, all those months ago. And it was pretty cool to see it in action, because he did not hesitate. And that was a big shot. And I think if he would have missed that shot, and I know if he would have missed that shot, a lot of people were ready to like slander him,
Oh, yes. Especially Raptors fans, who I mentioned that earlier. My God. And after that podcast, Raptor fans were just all over me about, Fred is this and Fred is that. And y'all going to find out about Fred. He's not really that good. And so yeah, it's something to watch how, he comes to a whole nother team and another team actually appreciate what he brings. And I know how it is. Like, you may see some stuff that maybe the new team doesn't see, but so far, Fred has been great. Dylan has been great. Jeff has been great. I mean, pretty much everything that Rafael Stone did this offseason so far has been great. Now, Jock is still seems to be out of sync. I think the fact that he missed a lot of time in training camp and he missed a lot of practice time, he still doesn't seem really be in sync. But even Aaron, we haven't even talked about Aaron Holiday. In the limited time he's been out there, he's been great. He's been one of their best defensive players on the entire team. So I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. And I don't want to not talk about Jayshawn Tate, even though he got kicked out of the game, which was just ridiculous. But Jayshawn Tate's 3-point shooting, I mean, I don't know where it's come from, but he doesn't even hesitate now. He's shooting the ball like a lot of confidence. I don't know what his numbers are now, but I know coming into the last game, he was like 50% shooting from 3-point range on the season. So it just seems like a lot of things are coming together at once that we were hoping the last few seasons, and the vets have kind of brought it all together, and it kind of been the glue this entire season.
Winning is contagious. I think they're going into the game and they're expecting to win instead of hoping to win, and there's a difference. Like, you go in the game and you like, hey, maybe if I go for 40, we might be able to win this game.
Yeah.
And now that might have been like Jalen's or Alpe's mindset going into the game, and now like they don't even have that pressure on them. Like, Jalen can score 20, or Alperen can score 20, and they can still win the game because the ball movement is so good, and you have other guys on the team who at any given night, like any of the 5 starters, I feel like can get you 20 points. And I don't know. We'll see, man. Like the game Sunday tomorrow against Denver will be a big test for them. I think I don't want to say that it's a barometer game because it's so early in the season, but I think they're going to compete, and I don't think it's going to be I don't think it'll be a blowout. And even if it is, I'm not going to like freak out about it. I think they'll bounce back either way. And like, and it all boils down to the coaching. Like, from what you've seen, and you've seen it even more than me because you've been at practices in person. You've actually talked to Udoka face to face. I'm like watching your videos, and I'm like catching like some of the press conference stuff. But everything about him, just like D'Amico Ryans for the Texans, everything screams winner, man. Winner. Like the things that he says, the things that he said to the players, his analysis of the game, and the funny thing, like a lot of the stuff that he says actually, like, how we've gotten on here in the past and we say, hey, maybe I don't know because I'm not a professional. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna give, such and such coach, some credit because he's a professional. I'm not. But this is what I think. But a lot of the stuff that we've been saying, like, it's kind of fun and kind of cool to see, Emi Adoka come in and then actually like say the same stuff we've been saying. Like as far as like them playing guys and wrongly, on the defensive end. And then like even how he talks about Jalen Green. Yeah, I don't think he's being aggressive enough. I think that he need, maybe he is
Yeah,
he's
he doesn't mince words at all.
yeah, he's thinking too much. And so, but when he says that, I'm like, okay, if he sees that, then I know he's going to address it with him. He's going to pull him to the side and he's going to be like, hey, Jalen, I don't want you to shot check. I don't want you to go out there and just take every shot that you see. But like when you have a shot, take it. Like we are relying on you to like be aggressive. And when you have make the right play. And after the first couple games, that's the same things that we were saying as a community. And then to hear your head coach come out and say the same thing, that is probably the moment when I feel at ease because I'm like, he sees what we're seeing and he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. He's going to address it. They're going to fix it. And then if it's not fixed, then I know that it's not coaching. I know that it's the player. And we've seen a whole completely different Jalen Green. Sengun, we haven't even talked about Alperen Sengun. Man, this dude looks like a freaking all-star right now. Like the things that I was worried about, going into this season, I'm gonna let you go because I see you're ready to cook. I wanted him to either be better at defense or I wanted him to become a better shooter. He's done both. Done both. And so I'm like right now, I saw a statistic today, back to the stats, like he is playing like a top 10 player in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I mean it's been crazy, and it's for me the biggest thing has been his defense because we were all concerned with Ma is a defensive minded coach. If Alperen's not performing well on defense, is he even going to finish the game because maybe he'll bring in somebody else to finish? That's not even a problem anymore. We saw in the fourth quarter he missed those 2 free throws, and what did he do after that? He knocked the ball away. He dove on the floor 2 or 3 times. I mean, literally the guy. The guys.
What are you doing?
The
like
guy's ankle is like probably about this big, and he's like diving on the ground like he's doing one of the. I think that's actually a block that they've outlawed in the NFL. You can't even do that in the NFL now. When he dove and hit the guy's leg, Jordan Hawkins. I mean, he was all over the court, and then he had the big block against Valanciunas. And by the way, Valanciunas is like a freaking mountain. That guy's freaking huge, and I always look like he's pissed off. But Alperen didn't back down to him at all. If you remember last season, him and Alperen, they went head to head right there on the court. So Alperen doesn't. I mean, he smiles a lot, and he's
smiles a lot. Yeah, he looks all goofy and jokey.
Yeah,
he's an assassin on the basketball court, man. Don't let him fool you. Don't let him fool you because, like, he's all like, we think we're gonna come out and win, but put the basketball in his hands. He's a thug. I saw somebody today. They were talking about. They asked me a question. They were like, "Do you think that he's quicker now?" Like, I was like, I don't want to say he's quicker. Like, I don't think he's quicker. I just think that he knows what he wants to do, and
he knows exactly where he's going. Yeah,
he has counters on counters. He's confident. And there's just nothing you can do with him right now. He has that little push shot that he's hitting right now that is like somebody
and real quick on that. He practices that like every game I go to and every practice. Like pregame yesterday, he was sitting there for at least 5 or 10 minutes for the game, practicing just that one shot. He didn't move. He just practiced that one shot over and over and over again. So yeah, he's gotten really good at that shot.
Yeah, so like he's hitting that shot at like a crazy rate. I forgot what the stat on that was, but it was pretty high. But he's almost like automatic when he goes to the push shot. And then like I pointed out to some people too, like today against Valanciunas, he had like this drop crossover that is like you don't see very many guards in the NBA doing a drop cross the way he did it, and then he brought it back this way, absorbed the body contact, and went and finished it. And it's like, this is a 6'10", 6'11" center that's doing these things, and then he has the passing, and then like now he's at very least adequate on defense. He's not our worst defender. I don't want to name names, but he's not our worst defender.
Well,
He's no longer
if
that.
we're being honest, we know who's the worst defender in the starting lineup, but I don't really think it's a worse defender, just not as good as the other people.
Right.
But
So
anyway,
like,
yeah, what should I you say?
yeah. So like, it's like, man, look, it's Shingun. If he can keep it up for the whole year, I think. We talked about Jalen taking a third year leap. Shingun is actually taking it. I see Jalen Green working towards taking it. And I'm hoping that like at some point in the season we can actually be like, man, like I can have the same conversation I'm having about Shingun that about Jalen Green, but like
Yeah,
just to give before we get off, just to give Alperen Sengun his props, man, he's been amazing, and it's been on both sides of the basketball.
absolutely.
And I cannot. I'm actually surprised, and that says a lot. Like a lot of stuff doesn't surprise me because I'm like, oh, we've seen this and we've seen that before. Or I'm like, I don't think this is sustainable, so I'm not gonna get too hyped about it. Like the Dylan Brooks shooting, like I'm more hyped about the Dylan Brooks defense than I am about the Dylan Brooks shooting.
Yeah,
A lot of people are like, oh man, he's shooting 70% from the. That's not. I hate to break.
not
I
gonna
hate to
last.
burst your bubble. That's not gonna last, bro. But like
Which
the
we
stuff,
saw in the last couple of games, it's kind of starting to dip. But I don't even focus on that because, yeah, like you said, it's about everything, all the intangibles. I know people love saying
Mhm.
that word, but it really is the thing with Dylan Brooks. People like Dylan Brooks, people like Tari Eason. It's the intangibles that they
Mhm.
bring outside of just the scoring.
Yeah, so like the stuff that Shengun is doing, I think is sustainable. Like I can't think of anything that he's doing right now that I feel like is outlier. That I feel like 2 months from now he's gonna come back down to earth. So
No,
I'm super excited about Shengun. And then like we've been talking about, like the leadership that these guys have brought in has been like you can't even quantify it. And um the like Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Amin Thompson are going to be much better players by the end of the season just because of the fact that we were able to bring in Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. And so,
yeah,
hey, props to Udoka and props to um, Fertitta, props to
Stone.
Raphael
Yeah.
Stone for like trusting in the process because I know they when you look at it from a money standpoint, what would Lachard, I'm gonna ask you, when we did not have this conversation, what would have been the best thing for the Rockets to do from a financial money and marketing standpoint? Who should they have brought in?
Oh well, absolutely. Because I mean, James Harden. Because at
Yeah,
the end of the
yeah,
day,
James Harden.
Fertitta need Fertitta, like any owner, they want to make as much money as they can. Yeah, they want to win, but you bring in James Harden, your sales automatically go up. Your jersey sales go up. All that stuff automatically. Your profile, you get more exposure. But they went and got Fred VanVleet, who's all-star championship player, but he's not like a big name player that draws people in. They brought in Dylan. I mean, they brought in Dylan Brooks. I mean,
People were saying
everybody
Dylan
was
Brooks was
out.
going to China. They were
Yes,
they were saying
and they were
Dylan
being
Brooks was supposed to go
serious.
to China.
Yeah, and they were being serious. It wasn't a joke. They were really saying that Dylan Brooks might not even be in the league. And the Rockets went against all that and still not only brought him in, but gave him a 4-year guaranteed contract. I mean, that takes some guts to do that. I mean, yes, you had to spend the money, but they could have easily spent the money on, like you said, on James Harden. Or they could have spent the money and gave like 1-year deals to people and kind of just worked away and then try to again next season. But they took the
Playing for the
risk.
Pistons, like
Yeah, they
the
took the
flashy
risk and
play.
it's paid off. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we didn't go for the flashy play. We
Yep.
went for like something that we felt like would actually help the young guys become who they need to be. And that means something to me. Like I've been saying, like that means something to me, man. Y'all know the meme, the guy with the Michigan cap on or whatever. But
Yeah.
um the fact that you brought guys in that you felt could help develop your young core and help them to become what they need to be in order for the franchise to be successful is probably, well, it's not even probably. I think that is the best course of action because, like, if Shingun is not going to be, if he's not going to maybe not reach his ceiling, but at least get close to it. If Jalen Green can't become what we're hoping he can be, if Jabari can't, bounce back and become what we're hoping he could be, if Amon cannot be who we're hoping he could be when we drafted him, like all that losing the last 3 years was for nothing. It was
Yeah.
for nothing because now you're star chasing. You're hoping some guy's gonna come here in free agency, and you tank for 3 years to bring in guys in that you were hoping could be that star. And so like I really like the signings. I liked them when we had them. I didn't think that they were, I wasn't as excited. If they would have brought Harden in, I would have been like, oh, we got Harden back. It would have been cool. But objectively speaking, the Fred VanVleet and the Dylan Brooks signing were great. I know they tried to also bring in Brook Lopez. And I'm kind of on the fence about that now. Like I really
blessing
want
in disguise, maybe. Yeah.
It might be a blessing in disguise, like you said, because where Alperen Sengun have been given the leeway, the leash that he has right now to become what he's become on the defensive end. If Brook Lopez was playing so many minutes, and we don't know like that, I guess we'll never know. But like you said, I think it's a blessing in disguise, and also I think Brook Lopez is also kind of in a decline as a player. I think he's 35 years old. He's been injured in the past, and I think he's kind of like struggling through some injuries right now. So I don't know, man. Jock Landale, though, like in order for this to like be a complete blessing in disguise, I need Jock Landale to do something, man. Like I know your ankle is kind of maybe not 100%, but
and the concussions.
But it would be really cool if he starts to actually become a contributor. Like when he comes in now, I'm just kind of like, oh man, put Jeff Green in. And I'm not trying to hate on him. It's just just like from what we've seen so far, through 8 games, he has probably been one of our worst players, if not our worst player, in my opinion. And I really want him to come in. Like he's making me miss Usman Garuba. And I know some of y'all hate Usman Garuba and don't think.
I don't hate him. It's just I don't ever think he's going to be more than a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th guy on the roster, which is fine for some players. But yeah, I mean I agree with on Jock. It's going to take him some more time, but that's the beauty of having Jeff Green. If you didn't have Jeff Green, it would look a lot worse because you don't have any other big man on the roster that can come in and give you minutes. So, I mean,
and before you finish, in Jock Landale's defense, during the playoffs last season, he looked better at times than DeAndre Ayton.
He was playing in the fourth quarter over DeAndre Ayton. So he definitely has the talent. Yeah.
He has it in him. So like I'm not writing him off completely. I just, I'm looking forward to that moment when he comes in and I'm not like, oh man, they putting Jock Landale in. I want it to be like, oh yeah, Jock's coming in. We about to get some like good minutes. And so
So maybe they'll get there. But one more thing before we wrap it up, right quick here. I want to get your opinion on the court. So, I took a couple of videos of the court. Of course, everybody saw the full thing. I saw it in person. It's it takes some getting used to, that's for sure, even in person. It's a lot, but so at least that was one of the cool parts. The light show part was cool, so I give them that. But you saw the pictures of the blood red, like somebody was dying on the court last night. So what's kind of your opinion on that court? Because it seemed like a lot to me.
Okay, to me, like I don't like it. There's only like one mid-season tournament court that I like, and it's not ours.
Was it Brooklyn's?
Huh?
Yeah, it's definitely not ours. No,
it's not ours. I think it was Milwaukee's. I think Milwaukee's looked okay because it was like gray. It wasn't like really like a loud color.
Yes.
And then like our court for me on TV, it was hard to like follow the game at first because like I low key like I'm gonna let y'all behind the curtain a little bit. I have a little bit of ADHD a little bit. And so for me, it's just like what's going on? There's
like just
all
too
these
much
colors, and so it's bothering me, right? One of my good friends, Assad, was at the game. He said to him, in his opinion, it looked better in person than it did on TV.
True, yeah.
But like to follow it on TV, I felt like it was kind of a difficult watch until you got used to it. But then at some point, you just have to you can't change it. So, and you know what?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a marketing thing. I think that I think it's kind of a good idea. I don't know. I feel like maybe they'll scale it back a little bit in the future. Hopefully,
they have to.
But I think that it's a good idea to like make the court different from the regular court. Just from a marketing perspective, and to kind of up the excitement about like what they're doing or whatever as far as the tournament. But for me, I don't like those courts at all. Like I want them to like tone them down a little bit. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. And I think most people have kind of said that they are not huge fans of them. So there has to be like some kind of happy medium somewhere, right?
I mean, I agree. It looks better in person. I will say, as far as just the overall tournament, because I know a lot of people were like, "Why are they even bothering with this?" But I will say, when you're in the arena, the way the presentation and the different things that they have going on with the tournament, it definitely makes it feel like a different game than just a regular season game. So I'll give them that. But I guess it's the first year; they're still trying to work out a lot of the different things, and I don't think the players really care about the tournament outside of being able to go to Vegas. I think that's the Vegas and the money. I think that's the only thing the players
The
really care
money.
about. So I don't
would be
think they
LeBron talking about the 500K, like LeBron trying to pretend like he's a normal human being. Like, yeah, we can win
500K is
500K.
like $1 to him.
Yeah,
Like for
he
us.
has LeBron got 500K in his couch cushions, man. Like, I know he don't care about that 500,000.
Yeah, but they do like going to Vegas during the season. So I know that's definitely a motivation for them. But outside of that, I mean, like I said, the end game kind of atmosphere that they put with the whole tournament thing, that I could see that they did put some work into that. But yeah, the court, they got to tone down their red.
You know
Either
what the
tone it
court reminds
down.
me of? You remember when the Rockets changed their
Yes,
uniforms to the
the
pajamas with the
pajamas.
rocket blasting off, and the Raptors had a whole dinosaur on there, like a whole
Yes,
complete dinosaur on their
yeah.
uniform.
Do
Like,
you remember Any Given Sunday? Do you remember
yes,
that movie? And
yes.
how it was just outlandish, all
Yeah.
the uniforms and that's how it reminded me of. Like they just went way overboard with it.
And then, like, I think, but like after they did the whole dinosaur and the rocket with the teeth, and I think Charlotte
Yes,
Hornets had like a crazy uniform too.
cartoon
After,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah, after that, they kind of like pulled it back and they found like a nice little sweet spot. So
yeah,
hopefully, I think that's what they'll do. But like, I mean, it's cool. Like, I try not to be like the old guy like screaming at the cloud, because I like at first I was like, man, why are they doing this? But then like,
yeah.
also I think it's good marketing. I think it
Oh yeah,
brought more attention to what they were doing. It also distinguished. Okay, this is not, even though it's a regular season game, this is a little bit different from, it kind of
yeah,
helped you mentally to understand like something different is happening. So I get it. I want them to make it not so distracting,
yeah.
but I do get it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, of course, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Rockets play the Denver Nuggets tomorrow. Like I said, they have a very tough schedule coming up. So we'll definitely, by the time we're on next, sometime next week, we will definitely see exactly where the Rockets are as far as their progress. Like I said, if they lose a couple of games, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going backwards, but they're going against some really tough teams. That Denver game, that Golden State game, those are going to be really interesting games. I mean, if you're able to somehow manage to win these next 2-3 games, I mean, just imagine the excitement that's going to be going around Rockets community that's already there right now. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. We appreciate the support. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we are growing really fast. We're up to over 760 subscribers. So we definitely appreciate that. And that helps us continue to put out videos and continue to let everybody be able to see them because YouTube algorithm is a funny thing sometimes. So the likes and the subscriptions definitely help us. So we appreciate the support. And Vader, as usual, I appreciate you jumping on the show.
Hey, thank you. You've been doing a lot of hard work, a lot of good work, as
Appreciate
evidenced by the
that.
fact like the YouTube account has grown. It's almost
Yes.
doubled in like a month. So
Yeah.
and a lot of that is just being on the scene, being able to get those interviews, being able to like put out that exclusive content. So y'all make sure y'all tap in. Lachard's doing an awesome job. If the Rockets keep winning, man, like who knows? We got,
Yeah.
who knows what kind of stuff you might see as far as interviews and quotes and stuff like that. So make sure you subscribe if you already haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the kind words, and man, it's been a blast, and it's just good to be able to watch some winning basketball from the Rockets. So we definitely want to see it continue. And hey, who knows? Playoffs, play in.
Hey,
Yeah,
if
it's
we
way
go to
down the
the
road,
playoffs,
but
man, we go to the
that's
playoffs, you're not gonna be able to tell me anything. I'm gonna be like, I might like get like temporarily suspended off of social media.
yeah, I mean, that's way down the road, but hey, it's good to at least have some hope. So we definitely appreciate all the support, and make sure you check out the next episode of Rocket Field Podcast.